For coaches, the desired destination invariably ends with championships. But the journey is defined by wins. By either measure, Philip Fulmer's tenure at Tennessee is tantamount to success. Today, Fulmer authors the final chapter of his Tennessee Odyssey, coaching his last game as a volunteer.
Welcome to ESPN's College Football Primetime, presented by Kay Jewelers here in Knoxville, Tennessee, under the lights at Neyland Stadium. It's Tennessee taking on Kentucky. The Vols looking for their 24th consecutive victory against Kentucky here on senior night. But there are so many different underlying themes. The main one, their head coach, Philip Fulmer. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Jones, along with Bob Davey. Aaron Andrews joining us in just a few moments down in the field. Bob, back on November the 3rd, some 3 weeks ago, Philip Fulmer was told he wouldn't be returning as their head coach next season. He's dealt with the swirl of emotions ever since. Tonight is about the finality of it. How does he deal with it?
I think everyone realizes, Mark, just how emotional today is for Philip Fulmer. This is his last game as the head coach at Tennessee. It'll be his last Vol walk, his last pregame talk, last time on the sidelines here at Neyland Stadium. But I promise you, what he'll remember about this game down the road is who won or lost. You know, in the big picture of Tennessee football, this game might not be of much significance, but to Philip Fulmer, there is a lot of significance in this game.
Through all the swirl of emotions, he has maintained a steely resolve.
We'd also like to honor a true volunteer today from Winchester, Tennessee, head coach Philip Fulmer, as he is joined by his family.
His wife Vicky and his daughters, part of this program for some 30-odd years, all the way from a graduate assistant to now the head coach and now beyond, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, that was great stuff right there. Now the ball has to go in the air. We have to play a football game here.
Speaking of the football game, hey, Kentucky has a quarterback with a special night of his own on his mind. Randall Cobb from nearby Alcoa, Tennessee, excited about tonight.
Mark, Randall Cobb's house, his bedroom is 14 miles from this stadium, so you can imagine just how excited he'll be. And it's a great story. I mean, a year ago, he is Mr. Football in the state of Tennessee in Class 2A. Now, this year in the Southeastern Conference at Kentucky, he started at wide receiver, quarterback, and he's the punt returner. He started the last 4 games. Tonight will be his 4th straight start at quarterback. Can you imagine just how excited this young man is?
Well, it is an emotional night for a lot of different people, but for no one more than Phil Fulmer. He brought a national title here to Tennessee. Tonight is his last night. Welcome back, everyone, to Neyland Stadium here in Knoxville, Tennessee. College football primetime presented by Kay Jewelers. Tennessee getting set to kick it off against Kentucky. But first, let's go downstairs to Aaron Andrews. Aaron?
Thanks, Jonesy. I had a chance to speak with Tennessee head coach Philip Fulmer before he went into the locker room for his speech with the team. And I just asked, what are you going to say to your guys in there? And he told me he wanted to keep it as normal as possible, and he was going to emphasize to them. I know some of you are saying, I want to play for Coach Fulmer, I want to get the win for him, but he wanted to let them know that is not what he wants tonight. He wants them to play for themselves. Guys, I got to tell you, during this ceremony, there are a ton of people just crying, tearing up over here, staff, family members, senior players walking off, and I grabbed some of those guys, and they said, we don't care what Coach says. It went in one ear and out the other. together. We are playing for him. Tonight is all about Coach Fulmer.
Yeah, and there is a tangible emotion down there tonight working in Coach Fulmer's favor, you would think. Meanwhile, his counterpart on the other side of the field tonight, Rich Brooks, trying to get his team their 7th win of the season and thus improving their bowl standing. And they are coming off a loss a couple of weeks ago against Vanderbilt at home in Lexington. They've had a little time to stew over that loss. They had a week off last week.
Yeah, Kentucky comes in having lost 5 of their last 7 games, and you see right there, that says it all. Tennessee's won 23 straight games against Kentucky. Although last year was a 52-50 overtime win for the Vols.
Tennessee kicking off. From the 7-yard line, it's Winston Guy. And Guy with a nice return out over the 35-yard line. And it'll be 1st and 10 for Randall Cobb from there. Let's take a look at our impact players for Tennessee. Randall Cobb, a special night for him, completing 52% of his passes coming into the game tonight.
Yeah, Tony Dixon, a solid running back, captain of the team. He's had a productive career. And Trevard Lindley, really a shutdown man-to-man corner for the Wildcats.
1st and 10 for Kentucky. And stopped up at the line of scrimmage. And Cobb actually still with the ball. Randall Cobb really selling that fake and getting a 1st down, picking up 12 yards.
Well, right away, you see what kind of athlete Randall Cobb is. And, you know, Kentucky notoriously slow starters this season. Let's take a look at this. Yeah.
I thought he was down. Not quite, though.
I don't think he was down.
This time they run it over the right side of the line. That's Tony Dixon. Stopped up at midfield as we take a look at the Wildcat starting lineups up at the top of your screen. Dixon, the team's leading rusher coming into this game, number 28 right there.
Just the youth of this offensive team. You know, they lost 6 starters from last year's record-breaking offense. Extremely young at the wide receiver position.
They had some heavy losses at the wide receiver position as well as at the tailback spot. Dickie Lyons, the most impactful of those losses. Cobb passing incomplete and almost intercepted by number 5, Rico McCoy. It was intended for Matt Roord. This Tennessee defense has been stout all year long. One of the top defenses in the conference.
The ball thrown a little bit behind, and as you mentioned, Rico McCoy could have got a penalty right there. You see him throw that football after the play. There's a lot of times they'll come in there and flag that.
3rd and 8 coming up for Kentucky. We got a flag down on the field. Looked like there was a little movement up front on the left side of that offensive line for the Wildcats.
False start, 79 on the offense, 25 yards, down lane's 3rd.
It's going to go against Gary Williams. Meanwhile, we take a look at the starters for the defense of the Tennessee Volunteers.
Last week, this defense for Tennessee, they mauled Vanderbilt up in Nashville.
Third and 13 now. Tennessee may have moved a little bit early. Flags down on the play. Cobb is brought down at the 41-yard line. Wes Brown was the first one to arrive in the backfield, and he was also the first one to move, seemingly offsides.
I think Robert Ayers and Wes Brown, both defensive ends, jumped offsides.
And take your pick.
Offside, 91 on the defense. Penalty be 5 yards from the previous spot. Down remains 3rd.
Well, whatever they heard, they both heard the same thing.
They did.
But as you know, Mark, you always go on movement of the football, not on the cadence of the quarterback.
They give the 5 yards back, and it sets up a 3rd down and 8. Cobb's going to take off by himself and has the first down. Randall Cobb, an explosive talent, running it himself for the first down. He picked up 14 yards on the play for the Wildcats.
Yeah, Mark gets a good block from Alphonso Smith, number 29. And, you know, third down for Kentucky is really a rundown because pass efficiency-wise, they're 108th in the country in passing efficiency. So it's all about the legs of Randall Cobb.
A lightly recruited quarterback who ended up at Tennessee, actually took a visit here to Tennessee, but decided that he fit the system at Kentucky a little bit better. 1st and 10. Hands it off to Alphonso Smith, and Alphonso Smith has another Kentucky first down. A nice rhythm to Kentucky's offense here in the early going. He gets 11.
And we talked to Joker Phillips, their offensive coordinator. We talked about the slow starts that Kentucky's had offensively. He said what he was going to do tonight is go more no huddle, get up to the line of scrimmage, and then check down from the press box. In other words, let it rip a little bit more, and Randall Cobb would be a key player with quarterback runs early in the game. You see him here. They go through the cadence like they're going to snap the ball. Tennessee lines up in their defense, and then Randall Cobb gets the check from the sidelines.
First down and 10 from the 23. Nothing lethargic about this Kentucky beginning here. The handoff into the boundary to Tony Dixon. They have had issues with slow starts. Somebody or other has hit the snooze bar from time to time, Bob, so this is what they do to remedy that situation.
Well,
a little bit of contact.
Yeah, they tried to get a little bit of contact, but here's the thing. There wasn't much there. But, you know, Tennessee is even slower starting than Kentucky. I mean, Tennessee in the last 9 games has only scored 3 points total. What they should have done was scrimmage each other in pregame to get ready for the game.
Joker Phillips up top there, the offensive coordinator for the Wildcats. Watching his quarterback scramble out of harm's way and wisely throw it out of bounds. That time the Tennessee defense up to the challenge, and a late flag in the backfield, the defensive backfield actually, downfield at about the 7-yard line. We've seen a lot of flags here in the early going.
Yeah, that flag came out late. Yeah, Matt Rourke, number 3, right there.
On Eric Berry. That's the wrong guy.
That is the wrong guy.
You don't want to be messing with Eric Berry.
Well, I think Rich Brooks now, that's an intention getter right there. He got over and got that straight.
Didn't take too long.
And this is the kind of offense, Kentucky, that can ill afford any penalties. I mean, they have to stay on rhythm. Be interesting if that was a dead ball foul or not after the play.
Ineligible receiver, number 61 on the offense. Penalties 5 yards. Down remains second.
Matt Rourke might have got away with one. Rich is thinking right now.
Does he take it back?
Should I go after number 61 now? He's not going to go say I'm sorry to Matt.
It don't work that way.
Look.
No apologies.
I'll tell you, that is a major penalty there.
They're going to march it all the way back to the 43-yard line. There's Coach Brooks talking to Rourke, and
there we go. We're good.
Tough love, huh?
I like that. I mean, that's a heck of a statement there by Rich Brooks. I mean, if you make a mistake, go say it to the player and admit it. Just not too many times.
Yeah. 2nd and Nashville to go. Handoff is to Tony Dixon, and Dixon gets some of the yards back. One more look at that hit after.
Well, let's show you. That's what Rich Brooks saw right there. But look right there. If we freeze it, look at big 61 right there, downfield. The flag comes in, but yeah, 61 was downfield, and the ball was thrown, Mark, beyond the line of scrimmage. So it's lineman downfield.
3rd and 24. You ever say you're sorry?
Ask Joanne that question.
Little receiver screen pass. But stopped up after a gain of about 3 yards on the play. That's Kyrus Lankster, former high school teammate of Randall Cobb here in Tennessee. And it's a 4th down coming up now for the Wildcats. Right on the fringes of field goal range. They're going to punt this with Tim Mastay, one of the top punters in the conference. 2nd team All-American a season ago.
Yeah, usually they use a pooch punter. Mastay, I guess, Mark, is not in the game.
That Tidlachka coming in now.
Tidlachka, yeah, is the short range guy.
Logan is standing on his own 10 and watches it bounce over his head. And Kentucky is going to get a chance to down this right around the 5-yard line. So after a rather disjointed start with a lot of penalties, Tennessee ball when we come back. Welcome back, everyone, to Knoxville, Tennessee. Zeros on the scoreboard, 10:27 to go, just underway here in the first quarter. Tennessee on its first possession of the ball game. They're going to be starting from their own 5-yard line, and Jonathan Crompton is going to get the starting nod tonight. Arian Foster in a tailback, the deep back dotting the I. This is Arian Foster, who pick up about 2 on the play. Take a look at the Tennessee impact players. Crompton was the starting quarterback for the first 4 games, lost his job, and came back now to start the last 2.
And Arian Foster gets the start at tailback. You know, he's been injured a little bit. He's had a thigh injury. Not a real big play guy, but a solid, versatile back. And Eric Berry plays some quarterback, primarily a strong safety, but just a tremendous guy at taking the ball and then running it back on defense.
Great all-around talent. There's a look at Foster, who last year was all SEC, but because of the disjointed offense, he's had his struggles this year, as evidenced by this play. He's stopped up by Corey Peters up front for the Wildcats.
And when you talk about struggling, this Tennessee offense is beyond struggling. I mean, they're 116th in the nation in total offense out of 119 teams, 114th in scoring offense. And what you see right there is what you're going to see. They're going to try to line up and do what the old offensive lineman loves. And Philip Fulmer, they're going to run that football.
Bob, I'm going to guess they're not going to throw it more than 10 times tonight.
Well, they may throw it here, but it may be a wide receiver screen or something.
Last week, in their loss against Vanderbilt, actually in their victory against Vanderbilt, they threw the ball a total of 8 times. Crompton working out of the shotgun. And stopped up back at the 2-yard line. Myron Pryor.
Wow. I mean, they're wanting to boo a little bit here tonight. I mean, Myron Pryor, 98. I said it a couple weeks ago. He has a little Glenn Dorsey in him now. He's about 6'1", 310, very explosive. But, Mark, how about the call? Just a quarterback sweep on 3rd and long.
Britton Colquitt is going to punt from deep in his own end zone. He's really backed up against that end line. He's averaging a little over 43 yards a punt this season.
Kentucky with 2 roughing the punters against Vanderbilt. Wow, they could have blocked that one.
And Cobb is one of the punt returners for Kentucky. Brought down to the 43-yard line is Cobb, who's also the starting quarterback. Big Myron Pryor getting a breather. We'll be right back after this.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by EA NCAA Football 09. Who's number 1? Text FAN to 4ESPN. Standard rates apply.
Welcome back to Neyland Stadium on Philip Fulmer's final night as head coach of Tennessee. Crompton a few moments ago unable to gain any yards on a 3rd down call. They had to punt away, and right now Kentucky working from Tennessee's side of midfield at the 44-yard line. Randall Cobb at quarterback. Cobb hands it off. That's Dixon down to the 40, picks up about 3. Well, get your weekly dose of NFL news and analysis on ESPN Sunday at 11. Chris Berman and the gang host Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM. They'll take a look at the best pass rushers, past and present. And what could the Patriots have in common with the Prince of Darkness? 2nd and 6.
You see again Randall Cobb looking over to the sidelines, checking here.
Cobb throwing a little bit high and incomplete at the 35-yard line. That was intended for Lankster.
You know, a statistic that jumps out. Talk about Tennessee. It's official now. 12 games, 0 points all season on their opening drive. So Tennessee went all year, Mark, never scored on the opening drive.
Really.
Kentucky's gone 12 games now. They have 3 points for the entire season on their opening drive.
A couple of teams really struggling this season. It's beyond struggling, like you said earlier. Here's Cobb. Reception made, and a first down at the 27-yard line. Nice catch by Alphonso Smith. Backup tailback picks up 14 yards.
Yeah, Alphonso Smith, man-to-man coverage right there by Rico McCoy. You know, Alphonso Smith is the fastest guy on this football team. 4.25 40. Young guy from Louisville, can really run. That was a big conversion right there.
Gives them a first down and 10 from the 26-yard line. Welcome to Knoxville, Tennessee. The Wildcats and the Volunteers going knock for knock here, and zeros on the scoreboard on this, the final night for Phil Fulmer as the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. After 17 years, he will not be back next season. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie and Aaron Andrews down in the field. 2nd and 12 coming up for Kentucky on this, their second offensive possession of the ball game. A loss of 2 on that last play. Kentucky coming into this game has lost 23 consecutive times to Tennessee. Cobb on the pitch. Nice run by Dixon, and Tony Dixon gets down to about the 22-yard line. 6:05 to go in the first quarter. A 6-yard pickup by Dixon.
You know, you see how difficult it is to defend Randall Cobb. And, you know, it really is an amazing story, Mark. He is still their leading wide receiver on the team with 21 catches. Starts the first 4 games at wide receiver. Now he's the starting quarterback, and he's still the punt returner. I mean, it's a one-man show, and he's a true freshman that grew up 14 miles from the stadium.
Yeah, he's only making his 4th consecutive start, so this quarterbacking thing's still relatively new for Randall Cobb. Keeps it that time and was lucky to get back to the line of scrimmage. Now, it should be stated, if you're just joining us, that this Tennessee defense has been extremely intransigent for most of the season. They have been staunch. One of the top, statistically anyway, defenses in the nation.
Kentucky,
4th and 6 coming up for the Wildcats.
Kentucky struggled a little bit in this field goal department. Lone Sieber 8 for 15 on the season, but you know he's had 3 field goals blocked.
4th and 6. Lona Sieber. Lona Sieber for the Kentucky Wildcats knocks through a field goal. Game. It's 3-0. We're here in Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee, on an extremely poignant night. A night rife with emotion for the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers, Philip Fulmer. He's been at the helm for 17 seasons, and overall he has been here at Tennessee for over 3 decades, almost 35 years in all, as a graduate assistant, as a player, as an assistant coach, and for the last 17 years as a head coach. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie and Aaron Andrews down on the sidelines. Bob, we talked about it a few moments ago, this being a special night for Tennessee and their head coach. How do you handle all the swirling emotions?
Mark, I can promise you this from experience. There's a lot of pageantry today, a lot of last things. Philip Fulmer will do a lot of emotions. When he looks back, what he's going to remember is one thing: W or L. Bottom line, and you're so routine oriented as a coach, it'll hit him tomorrow the magnitude of what's going on here tonight. But up till now, it's been business as usual, because as a coach, you just lock into that routine. But tomorrow, reality will set in now.
He was told about 3 weeks ago that he wouldn't be returning as their head coach, and that sign really reflects the popular sentiment around town here. From the cab drivers to the guys that pump gas at the gas stations and the store clerks, most of the people that I've had a chance to come into contact with during the course of the week have expressed great love and affection for Philip Fulmer. On the kickoff return, this is Gerald Jones. Let's go downstairs to Aaron.
Jonesy, Bob mentioned how head coach Philip Fulmer is so into his routine. I checked in with him during warm-up today, just said, how you doing? How you feeling? He said, hey, it's game day. I'm good to go. But he told me the one thing he did want to emphasize to his team was he didn't want them to say, hey, we got to go out and we have to win this for coach. He just didn't want that to be the message. It was such an emotional pregame here with the senior day, Coach Fulmer's family running through the tee. I was actually standing right there when everybody walked out, and many of the seniors were crying. I was grabbing them saying, are you crying because it's your last game or for Coach Fulmer? A lot of the players said, we're crying for him. We want to win this for him. We heard his speech, but it went in one ear and out the other. We have to win this for him.
Tough night emotionally for both coaching staff and players. Arian Foster on the run, and this is what it looked like a few moments ago. Coach Fulmer, joined by his wife Vicky and his children, running through that gauntlet, the tee for the final time. He brought a national championship to Tennessee back in 1998, a couple of SEC championships and 5 appearances in the SEC title game. But it all comes to a punctuated end tonight. 2nd down and 4 for the Volunteers from Kentucky side of midfield at the 48. Crompton finds his receiver. Pass complete. That's Gerald Jones. Picks up about 2 yards as we take a look at the defense of the Kentucky Wildcats, a defense that has been hit by injuries, especially up front, Bob. Jeremy Jarman not available because of a leg injury tonight.
Yeah, Mark, and they're struggling a little bit. Also, their backup defensive tackle, Ricky Lumpkin's out with an ankle. Fortunately, they have a lot of depth up front on the defensive line.
3rd down and 2 for quarterback Jonathan Crompton, who gets the start tonight. Crompton was the starter for the first 4 games, lost his job, and came back the last 2 to start. This one, a nice run by Foster for the 1st down and then some. Arian Foster a season ago was all SEC. He picks up 9 yards on that play.
He's going to get a great block, excuse me, Bart, by Ramon Foster, the big right offensive tackle. They pull him and trap.
And Bob, you mentioned Ramon Foster. That's one of the players that Philip Fulmer, their head coach, talked about as really taking the reins of leadership during the last couple of weeks. There he is up front. That's their first down of the ball game. It comes with 3:03 to go here in the 1st quarter. Nice cutback that time by Foster, and another good gain by the Vols. You talk about the quarterbacking situation for Tennessee, Bob. There have been several different players that have lined up in that spot. Nice run here, though, by
Foster. They have struggled. Watch right here. The right defensive end, number 97, Nyajo Aniku, starting in place of Jeremy Jarman, got caved down inside, and Arian Foster with the vision to see that.
A 14-yard pickup by Arian Foster. First down and 10 for Tennessee from the 22. Another run, this time over the right side again over Ramon Foster, and a pickup of 2 by Foster. Bob, start to talk about the quarterbacking situation. It was Crompton. He struggled after the first 4 games, giving away to Nick Stevens. Stevens struggled, and then last week we even got a look at B.J. Coleman in the Vanderbilt game. And they've also had Gerald Jones and Kelly line up at the quarterback. Pardon me, Eric Berry line up at quarterback.
Yeah, they played 4 quarterbacks last week against Vanderbilt.
On 2nd down and 8, Crompton completes this pass. That's Warren, and Warren steps out of bounds about a yard and a half short of the 1st down. But Tennessee looking a little bit lively here offensively in the 1st quarter. A pickup of 6 on the play.
Yeah, everybody's been wanting to see Brandon Warren, #1. Went to high school here locally, then went to Florida State, transferred back in to Tennessee.
3rd down and 2 from the 14.
And this is where Tennessee has struggled a lot of times, Mark, with mental mistakes in these short yardage situations.
It was to Foster, couldn't bounce it outside, and is brought down at the line of scrimmage by Micah Johnson, #4, from his middle linebacker spot. So it's 4th and short coming up, and Daniel Lincoln leads the field goal unit onto the field.
Yeah, Micah Johnson, the linebacker, highly recruited young guy, won the Paul Hornung Award as Kentucky's Mr. Football. Just shot the gap unblocked right there, sets up the field goal.
Lincoln is 10 of 17 on the season.
The good news, though, he was 2 for 2 against Vanderbilt, 25 and 24 yards last week.
This one coming from 31 yards out. And that really symbolic of the offensive struggles for the Volunteers in 2008. No good. We're going to take a timeout, and for our viewers watching on ESPN Classic right now, to watch the rest of this game, just flick it over to ESPN2. We'll be back right after this.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And in part by Planters, instinctively good.
Well, if you could tap into Philip Fulmer right now as we look at the fantasy of trees and some of the seasonal settings, I would know what Philip Fulmer would want for Christmas. He'd take an advanced gift. He'd just take a W tonight, wouldn't he, Bob?
I wondered where you were going with that. How you were going to segue from that Santa sitting there into Philip Fulmer. But you're exactly right, Mark. I mean, winning your last game is big.
1st down and 10 for Kentucky from the 20-yard line. Kentucky Wildcats have lost 23 consecutive times against Tennessee. Hoping to snap that streak tonight. Gain of about 1 that time by Cobb. And here's a look at our Sonic rivalry recap. Volunteers with that 23-game winning streak, and Fulmer 15-0 all time against the Wildcats. Kentucky looking for a win tonight to improve their bowl standing. They're 6-5 coming in. 2nd down and 9. Cobb takes off on a predetermined run. And Randall Cobb with a nice gain out near the 30-yard line, just a little bit short of the 1st down. He picks up 8.
Yeah, Zip Duncan right there. Excellent job. The offensive guard wrapping around on a key block.
That's the end of the first 15 minutes of play. We'll be back for the 2nd quarter right after this. To throw on 1st down, right over the middle. They've got Kent open, and he breaks him into the secondary. He needs a block, and he could roll the distance. Sets as a man, got it. Touchdown, Tennessee. Marcus Nash. Grand 5-10, breaks it off, and he's open. Touchdown, Tennessee. It's 75 yards. One of the great shining moments for the Tennessee Volunteers under their head coach, Philip Fulmer. An era coming close tonight after 17 years. Start of the 2nd quarter now. Kentucky with the football, 3rd down and 2 from their own 27-yard line.
Well, you have to think quarterback draw right here. Tennessee's coming with pressure.
And a little bit of premature movement up front by number 60, Klinevsky.
Now, Mark, what happens?
Right to the snap, false start. Number 63 on the offense.
When you do the check with the sideline thing, those linemen have to stay in that stance so long. I mean, that's some discipline right now for a 315-pound guy, just to stay in that stance that long, and that's what got him right there.
Talking about holding your water, Bob. That's a lot of water at 315 pounds.
You know, looking back to that Tennessee flashback, What's really missing, those big play, of course, Peyton Manning's missing from that, but those big play wide receivers and the speed. I mean, this is not a very fast offensive football team for Tennessee. Good speed on defense, very little speed, comparatively speaking, on offense.
You think about some of the great times here at Tennessee. You look at the 4-year reign of Peyton Manning and the Volunteers. Although it was after he left that it was T. Martin that led them to a national championship, but still very prolific during the Manning years. And Kentucky's quarterback Randall Cobb back to the line of scrimmage. Speaking of Peyton Manning, here's what he had to say about the night.
I'm going to miss him as a Tennessee football coach. It's a celebration of his career, and but like I said, he'll always be my friend and he'll always be my coach. And so, Coach Fulmer, you're the best.
Some real heartfelt emotions and shout-outs coming from some 150 former players and teammates of Philip Fulmer's yesterday during the walkthrough and at the game here tonight. Tim Mastey into punt now for Kentucky.
Kentucky's had 2 punts blocked this year. Good time for Tennessee right now to come after him.
Great punt by Mastey. It's going to bounce and take a Kentucky bounce all the way down near the 30, now inside the 30. In all, a 47-yard punt. Nothing on the return. Let's go down to Aaron. Aaron?
Jonesy, just to add on Peyton Manning, I had a chance to speak with him this week about Philip Fulmer, what he's meant to Peyton, and he said it kills him today not to be here. He was hoping, you know, when everything was announced 3 weeks ago that the Colts would either have a bye week, they'd be on Monday Night Football. He wanted to be here very, very badly, along with the 150 former players, friends of Philip Fulmer, but he's in Cleveland right now, but he was telling me how Philip will always be his head coach. He went to a wedding, and he said, believe it or not, we actually even rode horses up to Rocky Top. Yes, there is Rocky Top, and they went up there together.
All right, Aaron. And this is Gerald Jones in what they like to refer to as the G-gun formation. Gerald Jones picked up 7 yards on the play. Gerald Jones, a receiver. We'll see him, as well as, like we said earlier, Eric Berry line up in that shotgun.
Yeah. You know, Aaron was talking about that Rocky Top with Peyton Manning. You know, some of the greatest scenes I have in my mind is Peyton Manning getting up after a big Tennessee win, leading that band, leading the fans and singing Rocky Top. I mean, those are 8 months right there.
It's a real trip down memory lane for a lot of players, coaches, and fans here, leading up to tonight. Crompton sacked for a loss of about 4 on the play. Michael Johnson there to make the stop for Kentucky. That's Kentucky's 28th sack of the season.
Yeah, watch this blitz by Kentucky. They're going to bring one linebacker here, bring the other linebacker around on a cross right here. And Tennessee has struggled all year, Mark, with penetration. And they're an experienced offensive line, Tennessee. I mean, 142 starts between them.
Now they have Montario Hardesty in a tailback. Crompton. Crompton completes the pass of the 40. There's a flag down. It's going to be complete to Austin Rogers, enough for the first down, but will it stand?
Yeah, I wonder if that's offensive pass interference right there on Austin Rogers. He looked like he pushed off before he came back to the ball. Let's take a look.
He was working against Gerard Lindley.
Yeah, that right arm came out right there.
There didn't seem to be anything subtle about that either. Lindley, of course, the all-SEC pick at cornerback for Kentucky. He was one of the impact players we showed moments ago.
Yeah.
And by the reaction of the Wildcat players, yeah, it's going against the Volunteers.
Pass interference, number 21 on the offense. Penalty will be from the previous spot, 15 yards, down remains 30.
So for one of the few times Tennessee actually does throw the ball complete, Bob, it's nullified by an infraction.
Yeah, I mean, last week versus Vanderbilt, they were 4 for 9 passing for the game, Mark, for 21 yards. And the problem, they had 2 interceptions in those 9 passing attempts. So 4 for 9, 2 of them intercepted. So, yeah, I mean, whatever can go wrong will go wrong for Tennessee in this game.
As you look at Crompton there at quarterback, his mistakes have been real calamitous mistakes. I mean, big ones that have led to touchdowns. And at bad times, not that there's ever a good time. This is Jones, and Gerald Jones get out to the 26-yard line. Up of 10 yards on the play. Not nearly enough for the first down. Well, Monday night, the explosive Maurice Jones-Drew looks to get the Jags rolling against dynamic rookie Steve Slayton. Monday Night Football on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern Time. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS. 4th and 13 as Britton Colquitt into punt, and that's Randall Cobb standing at his own 33-yard line. Bob, he really does do everything.
That's still amazing. That's the quarterback back there. And I'll tell you what, Colquitt hit that one.
Cobb calls for the fair catch all the way back at the 27-yard line. Yeah, what a punt by Britton Colquitt, 48 yards.
And that's a cool little customer right there as a freshman.
Just happens to be their best wide receiver, too.
And quarterback and punt return.
This is ESPN Rivalry Week, presented by Samsung Mobile.
Under the lights at Neyland Stadium, Kentucky leading 3-0. Wildcats with the ball from their own 27-yard line. First down and 10.
There's some beautiful facilities in this country, but this stadium and facilities here, this may be as nice as any I've been in.
It's that checkered end zone with the orange and white that does it for me. Cobb with nowhere to go. Well, he was lucky. He was right up to the 23-yard line. Still a loss of about 4. And let's go back to Wendy Nix in the studio. Wendy?
Mark, thank you very much. It's time for SportsCenter right now. First of all, Alabama defeating Auburn 36-0. That's Mark Ingram hanging it in untouched, 14 yards. And what about another top 3 team, Florida? Tebow pressure right here, rolls right, finds Lewis Murphy. Florida gets the job done as well, setting up a significant SEC championship game next Saturday in Atlanta.
All right, Wendy, and back here, a fumble. Well, they're going to say Randall Cobb actually threw it. Nevin Kinsey was there to deliver the blow. They're going to call this one grounding.
Be an interesting call. I mean, Nevin McKenzie comes free at the top. Did they call that ground? It's hard to call grounding when the guy's getting hit in the back as he throws it. Now, maybe his intentions were to ground the football and he is in the pocket. Yeah, I can see that right there, because he was not throwing the football prior to getting hit.
They're going to mark it back at the 11. 3rd and 26. Well, despite the struggles of the Tennessee offense, the defense has been solid. Cobb hands it off to Alfonso Smith. And Smith is stopped immediately. Nevin McKenzie in on another consecutive tackle. 4th and long, they'll have punt.
And you mentioned this Tennessee defense. It's hard to imagine that they're 6th in the nation in total defense. When you look at John Chavis right there, when their offense is 116th, Mark, and this guy's been at Tennessee 26 years. Wow.
He matches Colquitt with a great punt of his own. Jones back at the 40. And Gerald Jones into Kentucky's side of midfield. A 50-yard punt, but a 14-yard return. We'll be back right after this.
ESPN's College Foot Primetime, brought to you by Samsung Mobile, proud sponsor of ESPN Rivalry Week, and the Volkswagen Signed and Drive event. German engineering for practically just a signature.
My stance right now is what I've said publicly a couple of times. You know, to be bitter or resentful at this particular time is like taking poison and expecting somebody else to die. You know, I'm not going to do that. I've got a wonderful faith and a wonderful family and our health and lots of friends, and you know, we're really kind of in the twilight of our lives. You know, we're in the middle of our lives, so we've got a lot to look forward to, and that's how I'm choosing to handle all of this. I may coach again. Certainly that's a possibility.
That pass incomplete. And Bob, what was your thought? I mean, in listening to some of his comments during the course of the week, you almost got the feeling that it would take the right situation, but definitely he's still somewhat interested in coaching.
Well, and it has to be the right situation, because if you're Philip Fulmer, don't take this situation for granted. There are not many Tennessees around this country, particularly when you played here. you've been here as long as he's been here. It'd be hard to find another play that would motivate him the way that Tennessee would motivate him.
On 2nd down and 10. That's Lennon Greer on the carry. Got back to the line of scrimmage. Nothing doing running the ball.
And Mark, I mean, the bottom line, the reason Philip Fulmer won't be back at Tennessee next year, it's because offense. And the problems are complex. You know, it's part personnel, it's part scheme, it's part of new staff, part personalities of the coaches coaching it. I mean, it's a complex situation. But the bottom line, this offense is why Tennessee will have a new football coach next year.
Fulmer brought in a brand offensive coordinator this year. With Dave Clawson, things haven't worked out. And on 3rd down and 10, the Volunteers looking to pass. And Crompton is going to be sacked back at the 43-yard line by Myron Pryor. Another big...
Let me circle Pryor, please.
And the play by the big fella up front.
Yeah, I want to circle Big Myron and watch him work right there on guard Anthony Parker. That is a big-time pass rush right there by Myron Pryor. I really wanted to circle him, Mark Jones. That was a great pass rush.
He definitely one of the NFL prospects up front there for Tennessee. Suffered through the early part of the season with a high ankle sprain, but more than healthy now. That was his 4.5 sack of the year. Well, Cobb fields it dangerously. Turned out to be a pretty good decision, taken out to the 16-yard line. A 48-yard punt, 8 on the return, and Myron Pryor, he got something to throw his hands up over. Big fella.
It's a little bit of Glenn Dorsey right there, I'm telling you.
Welcome back to ESPN's College Football Primetime, presented by Kay Jewelers here under the lights at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee, on the banks of the Tennessee River. Kentucky leading 3-0, a little over 8 minutes to go here in the first half. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie, Aaron Andrews down on the sidelines. Randall Cobb hands it off to Tony Dixon, who stopped up a gain about 1. Let's go down to Aaron on the sideline.
Jonesy, it was interesting to hear what Kentucky's take on playing Tennessee with all the emotion the past 3 weeks with head coach Philip Fulmer. A lot of the players' take was, hey, let's try to hit him in the mouth and hit him hard early. If we keep doing that, maybe they'll lay down. Now, their head coach, Rick Brooks, said, look, this is a team that clearly hasn't given up. And guys, during one of the breaks, they showed a nice tribute where they showed Coach Fulmer through the years and a message that said, this is Tennessee. A lot of the players were clapping on the sidelines. But the offense, man, they need to keep clapping and get something going.
Isn't that true, Aaron?
Hey, and you know what? When you've lost 23 straight to somebody, there's going to be a whole lot of sympathy for that opposing team. I mean, it's all about just trying to find a way to win this game if you're Kentucky.
Prior to the snap, ball start. Number 70 on the offense.
What about that streak, though, Bob? I mean, what's it like when a streak that spans generations of players at Kentucky, how much does that weigh on their mind?
There's no question. And on the there's pressure on Phil Fulmer. You know, we had that situation with Navy where we had beat them something like 38 straight times. So if you're Philip and Kentucky's won 23 straight and you're 15-0, there's some pressure on you on the other side.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy that has the streak come to an end, not on your clock.
There's pressure on everybody, right?
2nd down and 14 for Cobb. Falls down and is brought down at about the 3-yard line. Let's go back to Wendy Nix in the studio.
Mark, thank you. Oregon State can clinch a Rose Bowl berth Wednesday, but first they got to beat Oregon. Jeremiah Mazzoli to Jeff Mayle 17 yards later. Oregon on the board. They now lead 10-6. USC hosting Notre Dame. Can Charlie Weiss's squad bounce back from a tough loss to Syracuse last weekend? That game coming up at 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Mark?
All right, when you talk about some haunting odds facing the Fighting Irish against USC. 3rd 24 coming up for Kentucky.
Kind of like Kentucky on 3rd and 24.
A handoff, almost a safety. Great play by Eric Berry, who almost safety on Tony Dixon. Berry leading the conference and the nation with 7 interceptions this year, showing Bob he's good in run support too.
And we've seen that before. You know, we had Tennessee against South Carolina. Eric Berry is a complete football player. He will hit you. Now, I'll make this. Tennessee's best offense is Tennessee's defense, because Kentucky has gone backwards.
fast. Under a little bit of heat, Bob. They came after him a little bit, and Jones watches it bounce at the 37. It takes a volunteer bounce at the 35-yard line with 5:36 to go in the first half. Now, speaking of time, this went overtime last year. Eric Ainge hits Austin Rogers in the left flat for a 10-yard touchdown pass there, and then Ainge hits Quentin Hancock for a 40-yarder. Tennessee would add the 2-point conversion. Then Derek Locke would run it in from 2 yards away. However, going for the 2-point conversion, Andre Woods would get tackled, and the Wildcats would come up short in a 52-50 loss in four overtimes. And now Eric Berry lining up at quarterback for Tennessee. You knew he wasn't going to hand it off, Bob Dave. He keeps it himself and goes in the wrong direction.
You know, last year they played 4 overtimes and it was 52-50. These teams could play 4 days this year and it wouldn't be 52-50. I'm telling you right now, we could do this for 4 straight days and there's no possible way they could score 102 points.
Well, I think we'd put in for overtime, and so would the crew. Look at what they've done tonight on offense. 3 3-and-outs, and this their 4th possession coming. Berry got back to the line of scrimmage. It'll be 2nd down and 10 for Jonathan Crompton at quarterback. Foster in the backfield behind him. Foster with a nice gain out to the 30 line. Picked up 5 on the play. And it's interesting, Bob, when you have a coaching change, it always impacts recruiting. And so far there have been a couple of high-profile recruits that have said that with Kiffin coming in that they're going to keep Tennessee in mind still. Well, I'm sure they will. And we look right there at number 56 from Kentucky, Braxton Kelly, who started every game since he's been at Kentucky, walking off. But yeah, I mean, no one's sure who's going to be the head coach. I mean, it's not confirmed yet that Lane Kiffin, even though it's highly speculated that he will. Well, the school is yet to confirm that Lane Kiffin is going to be the next head coach, although there are various reports that say that. Gerald Jones, meanwhile, making the catch with 4:02 to go in the first half. He picked up 3 yards on the play. You have to think that Tennessee will go for it right here, particularly after Daniel Lincoln's first push to the right on the field goal. He missed one from 31 yards out, and Bill Fulmer going to call 1 or 3 timeouts here in the first half.
Timeout, Tennessee, first timeout of the half.
He's checking out the wind. Hasn't been blowing in his direction most of the time this year. 4th and 2 coming up for the Tennessee Volunteers, and welcome to college football primetime presented by Kay Jewelers. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Aaron Andrews down at the sidelines. Bill Fulmer making a decision here, Bob, on 4th. And Mark, look at this big Tennessee offensive line. I mean, experienced, talented. I mean, 142 starts, but they've given up penetration all year, particularly in the run game. Let's see right if they can get the ball in Arian Fox's hands, make a first down, although it looks like they're in a throwing formation right here. Got to get to the 25-yard line. Crompton, he's a pretty good runner. Boy, it's going to be close. Jonathan Crompton appears to have gotten the first down. And that spot is right on the line. Yeah, Mark, I think he made it. I want to go out on a limb. I think he lunged underneath the pile right there and made this first down. And they give the Vols the first down. Well, get your weekly dose of NFL news and analysis on ESPN Sunday at 7 a.m. Chris Berman and gang host Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM. They'll take a look at the best pass rushers, past and present. And what could the New England Patriots have in common with the Prince of Darkness? That and a lot more. 1st and 10 for Tennessee. Looking for the throwback and nothing doing. Number 95, Ventrell Jenkins, was sitting on that one as Crompton tried to hit Brandon Warren. Well, a lot of people wondered if there would be any boos in this stadium tonight. Phil Fulmer's last home game. There were some boos right there. What happens when you're struggling and searching so much on offense? You try to out-scheme everybody to make a play. You know, you have no confidence in just doing your simple, basic bread-and-butter offense because it hadn't worked. So you end up doing things that you just haven't repped enough. And, I mean, this offense is searching big time.
finds his man, Foster, and Foster pushed out of bounds at about the 7-yard line. Arian Foster showing some good hands, receiving out of the backfield, picked up about 17 yards on this play.
Yeah, they're going to bring Arian Foster on a little circle route. See number 1 right there on the clearing route, Brandon Warren, the tight end. And that's the reason Arian Foster is playing. He's the most complete back, Mark. And that's his 19th catch of the season.
Boy, it's amazing how things can be so starkly contrasting from a season ago when he ran for 1,200 yards on the ground. That 17-yard pickup was Tennessee's longest play of the night. Sets up a first down and goal. Into the boundary, Foster again. Had no shake that time. Brought down almost. Boy, Foster undeterred. It's up about 3 yards. They didn't rule him down. It looked like he was brought down in the backfield, but fought through. Trevard Lindley closed in, but couldn't close the deal on Foster.
Yeah, Mark, Trevard Lindley. You're going to watch the corner's going to come. He's not in the screen right here, but he is going to come and is the extra guy right there. And Arian Foster just keeps those knees off the ground. You're allowed to put your hand down, and he kept his balance.
Foster again. Foster tried to go airborne. Didn't have his pilot's license that time. It was brought down at about 2.5-yard line. Once again, Ventrell Jenkins there to make a stop for the Wildcats.
Yeah, and you have to love the effort of Arian Foster. I mean, he tries to go airborne from about the 5-yard line. Ventrell Jenkins on the tackle along with Micah Johnson.
Shoot, that's analogous to taking off from the free throw line in basketball, but not quite as much lift for Foster. 3rd and goal coming up for the Volunteers. Trying to get themselves on the scoreboard here with about 1:21 to go here in the first half.
You have to think play action pass right here, Mark. Maybe the fullback out in the flat right here.
Crompton on the snap, incomplete, and no flag and on the play, and now a late one coming. David Jones defending on the play against Quentin Hancock. It took the officials a while to get that flag out.
Yeah, let's take a look. Again, they come with the slant to Quentin Hancock.
Pass interference. Number 7 on the defense. Penalty will be half the distance to the goal at the 1-yard line. We were going from the 2 to the 1.
Yeah.
First and goal. Rich Brooks not happy about that call. Tennessee with a couple of timeouts remaining here. Kentucky with its full complement of 3.
Mark, that call is not reviewable. And here's where Tennessee has struggled right here.
The previous spot was the 2-yard line. By rule, we will go half the distance on the pass interference.
Here's where Tennessee struggled with mental mistakes, false starts. And when you're searching so much on offense, you just have to execute right here. You cannot make a mistake down this close to the goal line.
Well, 9th play of the Tennessee drive coming up right here. Up and not over the top. Foster stopped up before he could get into the end zone. Might have gained a couple of inches on the play.
When you're 114th in the country in scoring offense, everything is difficult.
Have you ever seen a discrepancy between offense and defense
Never.
Statistically?
116th in total offense and 6th in total defense for Tennessee.
You could almost understand if the defensive players looked at the offensive guys a little bit sideways from time to time. 2nd down and goal. Foster again. No liftoff, no takeoff, and brought down by Johnny Williams, which sets up a 3rd down and goal, and Phil Fulmer is going to call his 2nd timeout of the half.
Mark, the penetration in the running game has killed Tennessee all.
Back after this. .24 seconds to go in the first half. Tennessee the ball looking at 3rd down and goal. Bob, what exactly has happened on the last 2 plays when they were unable to get it into the end zone?
I mean, Mark, the same thing that's happened this entire season, and that is the defensive line and linebackers getting penetration in the backfield. And right here on 3rd down, with that ball inside the 1-yard line, I wouldn't be surprised right now if Tennessee throws this football. The only thing is it 4-down territory where you run it twice. And quarterback sneak may be your best play.
And Crompton's pretty mobile. He runs it pretty well. 3rd down and goal. They hand it off again. Foster stopped up short of the end zone.
And you have to go for it.
4th down. Corey Peters that time stopped him.
All timeout.
They got to keep an eye on the clock here. They have 1 timeout remaining.
Take it down to 1 second and go for it.
Phil Fulmer watching that clock and now calls a timeout.
Timeout.
With 2 seconds to go.
How about
in
this,
the
Mark?
Timeout of the half.
Okay,
Nothing has come easy this year for the Vols.
You're an old offensive line coach, right? Now, let's look at the previous play. I mean, look at the penetration. I mean, look at the white shirts in the backfield. Okay, but let's set the stage. You're an old offensive line coach. It's your last game as head coach at Tennessee. The ball is on about the 1-inch line. You have to run it, right? You cannot finesse,
play fake,
and play action. You cannot do it when you're an old offensive line coach.
Philip Fulmer is an old school. He's an old school type of guy. It's about getting your man on and muscling up and manning up and
you know what, Mark?
Blocking the guy in front of you.
Just run the quarterback sneak. I mean, you have 2 300-pound offensive guards.
Kind of underscores some of the issues they've had, Bob, and you alluded to it earlier tonight with the offensive line this year, and it's kind of surprising considering that they had everybody on the offensive line come back from a season ago.
And I'll tell you what will be interesting. If they make it, this crowd will hear them off the field. If they don't make it, Tennessee, they may boo them off this field. I mean, this play right here for a 4-7 football team is huge right here.
12th play of the Volunteer drive. The last play of the half. Brock shoots himself. Touchdown Tennessee, but a flag down.
Oh no.
So hold on a minute. There's a flag on the play.
Offsides.
Defense. Penalty decline.
It's against touchdown.
He wasn't going to finesse him and try to trick him. I don't want a quarterback sneak in.
Jonathan Crompton, who started last week against Vanderbilt, played just 2 series, gets in for the touchdown. And that's his 2nd rush touchdown of the season. Lincoln threw the extra point, and the Volunteers lead 7-3 at the end of the first half of play in Philip Fulmer's final day on the sidelines for the Volunteers.
How hard is it to score? Here it is. Yeah, he's in there somewhere. And how about the mood in the locker room at halftime for the Vols compared to if he wouldn't have made that? That was big right there.
Either way, a good way to end the first half for Tennessee. Let's go down to Aaron.
Oh, good way to get the monkey off your back for your offense. How huge was that touchdown for you guys?
It was a big touchdown. Hopefully we can build on it. There was a couple nice plays and then a little harder getting it in than we expected, but at least got it in.
Coach, your last halftime speech as the head coach here, what are you going to tell your guys?
I'm going to tell them we got to win the second half of this football game. You know, we've been through that for 3 weeks now, and that's enough, and they're focused on this game.
Thank you, Coach. Mark.
Aaron, Coach Fulmer, all about business. His team leads 7-3 at the break. We're going to go back to our crew in the studio, and Wendy Nix, Phil Fulmer is going to go from tension to pension.
This is ESPN Rivalry Week, presented by Samsung Mobile.
Over 102,000 strong on the banks of the Tennessee River here at Neyland Stadium tonight under the lights, as Philip Fulmer coaches his last game for the Tennessee Volunteers. His team leading 7-3 at the break. And time tonight's Timberland game track. Onisiva with a 40-yard field goal, the first score of the night for Kentucky, as they try to snap that 23-game losing streak against Tennessee. And then on 4th and goal, Jonathan Crompton going up and over the top. Give Tennessee the 7th lead on the last play of the first half. Tennessee will receive the kickoff here to start the 3rd quarter. Kentucky's won 3 of the last 4 games decided by 6 points or fewer. But Philip Fulmer has never lost to Kentucky. Greer on the return and brought down at the 27-yard line. That's where it'll be 1st down and 10 for the Tennessee Volunteers. Well, Bob, when you think about how the first half ended for Tennessee, what do they do now to build on that here in this half?
You know, Mark, I was thinking about this during the half, and I don't say this very often because I think it's overused in coaching, but the bottom line, whoever wants to win this game the most tonight is going to win it, because these teams are so evenly matched. I mean, Tennessee had 75 yards offense in the first half. Kentucky had 50. They're both 2-5 in the SEC. I mean, the bottom line, this is a fist fight, and whoever wants it the most is going to win this game.
Crompton hands it off to Foster, who finished the half with a touchdown. Got about 3 on the. Let's go down to Aaron. Aaron?
Hey, Jonesy, I had a chance to catch up with Kentucky coming out. The message in their locker room, basically by Rich Brooks, was it was a pretty non-descriptive first half. He says, we need to work on everything here. But the one thing he did warn his team is that these are going to be some very emotional Tennessee players coming out that know that they have 30 minutes left with their head coach, Phil Fulmer. I kind of snooped around the Vols sideline as well to try to find out how emotional it got in there. It didn't. By the book, we need to win this. We need to get it done. Still the message, let's get it done for Phil Fulmer.
All right, Aaron, and here's Crompton on the scramble, going to keep it himself. Pretty good burst out to the 37-yard line, and enough for 1st down for Tennessee, and a good start in the 3rd quarter as we take a look at our first half stats brought to you by Samsung.
I mean, it pretty much says it all. I mean, it's 58 total yards to 76 total yards. 7-3 football game, and as you look down the road, I think these quarterback runs, whether it's Crompton, whether it's Eric Berry or Greg Jones in the backfield for Tennessee, and then Randall Cobb for Kentucky, you know, when you're struggling as much as these offenses, the quarterback's going to have to make some plays on his own.
Well, some pretty mobile quarterbacks. Crompton using his arm this time as a man. It's caught, and this is going to be a score. Touchdown Moore.
Against man-to-man coverage, the corner at the top, David Jones, number 7. I don't want to use the word loaf, but lethargic, Mark. I mean, he just let Denarius Moore run right by him up there.
You can use loaf if that's applicable. Career-long reception for Denarius Moore, who makes it 14-3 now for Tennessee. That's his 2nd touchdown catch of the season.
And Arian Foster, the tailback, had an excellent block on that play.
That's the kind of explosiveness
it
that's
all
been
starts,
missing.
Watch the tailback right here. It all starts with pass protection. Kind of chops the linebacker. Then I'm just not sure David Jones, and no effort after the ball's thrown. No, David Jones, who was a wide receiver, they moved to defensive back. I mean,
yeah, he playing very well after getting burnt early in his career. He was playing well coming into this game. In a smoother ride than the 07 season when he needed an emergency appendectomy prior to the Eastern Kentucky game. But rough going there as the Volunteers get a score and they make it 14-3 in a very auspicious beginning here in the 2nd half for the Volunteers.
And Jonathan Crompton, give him credit. I mean, he took advantage of the open wide receiver, put that ball on the money right there. Good to see a young guy that's been struggling has hung in there. Maybe he can gain some confidence.
From the 10-yard line, this is Smith. And Smith brought down at about the 30. Let's go back to Wendy.
Mark, thank you very much. A pretty significant game going on in Stillwater, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. DeMarco Murray has 17 touchdowns on the season, but you can add one more. That's 18. And Oklahoma gets on the board 7-0 over the Cowboys. Meanwhile, USC hosting Notre Dame. 32.5-point underdogs the Irish are. Stephon Johnson punches it in. USC on top by a touchdown.
All right, Wendy, boy, what a point spread in that one, 32.5. And now Cobb trying to get some back, but incomplete. That one uncatchable. Landing out of bounds by about 5 yards. Intended for Adeyemi. Eric Adeyemi out of Miami.
Yeah, good coverage down the field by Dennis Rogan. And, you know, I talked to Jonathan Crompton yesterday at practice, and I said, you know what a great springboard for you for next year. I mean, he can take this game right now, gain some confidence, and have a heck of a senior year here in Tennessee.
That's Tony Dixon, Bob, stopped up by Eric Berry. And that underscores a pretty good point, because players like Eric Berry, like Crompton, who are going to be around next year, Bob, this is in part an audition to the next coach who's in here, whether it's Coach Kiffin or not, as reports have indicated. They evaluate this tape, and there's a lot to be said from a last game like this.
And I think even more important, Mark, I think that's a valid point. Just seeing Jonathan Crompton over there smiling a little bit. You know, going into the offseason with a flick of hope right there about your performance in the future.
On 3rd and long, Randall Cobb close to the first down, right near that 40-yard line.
Boy.
Let's see how they spot this one.
Looks like he spotted a little bit short.
Get the right-footed spot, which usually helps. Well, they're probably going to end up measuring on this one. But a nice burst of speed by the freshman quarterback Randall Cobb, who's from nearby Alcoa High School.
And I'll tell you, Rich Brooks, he's a gambler. You know, last week against Vanderbilt, he faked that punt late in the first, then went for it on 4th down. The big fullback in the game right now, John Connor, number 38.
They're 50% on 4th down this season. They're going to go for it, and they're going to get the first down. That was Alfonso Smith pounding out for about 2 yards on the play, so they moved the chains. And Smith a little bit shaken up after that tough run between the tackles.
Yeah, that was a good tough run right there. I mean, Rico McCoy, the linebacker, stepped up in the hole. Alfonso Smith, good physical run.
Got an Oklahoma State red zone alert. Oklahoma State at home in Bedlam taking on Oklahoma. That pass complete right at midfield. Eric Adeyemi making the catch as Smith is attended to on the sidelines. A pickup of 8 on the play.
You know, Randall Cobb, I give Joker Phillips, the offensive coordinator, a lot of credit. I mean, all the problems they've had with different quarterbacks at Kentucky. I mean, this guy has a bright future. There's Joker up in the press box. I mean, he can throw the football, Mark. I mean, that was an impressive throw right there.
And next year he gets the entire season in a training camp in the position to further learn the nuances of the situation. 2nd down and 2 now. Oh, a great bit of defensive work on Allen.
You talk about this Kentucky offense. I mean, really a completely new look. You know, last year they lost 6 starters. Injuries this year. Derek Lowe, their #1 rusher. Dickie Lyons, #1 receiver, out for the season. No experience on the offensive line. Or excuse me, they have some experience on the offensive line. None at wide receiver. They've done a good job, Mark, of just transitioning into an offense that gives them a chance to win.
Cobb is really taking the cue of leadership. That's John Connor on the run, and you look back to how he's really evolved into the position. Randall Cobb, you know, after the Arkansas game, he gathered his players together and told them that, hey, we have to work hard so we don't have to make late game comebacks like this. Of course, it was him that provided the late game heroic in that victory. Cobb hands it off this time to Connor once again. Cobb actually earned himself SEC Freshman of the Week honors the week of that Arkansas game.
You know, we talk about what a huge game. I mean, he tried to play off all week. Just another game. I mean, he's only a freshman that grew up 14 miles from this stadium. Tennessee didn't offer him early. You don't think this young man is excited about this chance to come in here and beat Tennessee?
No doubt. Middle Tennessee, the only other school besides the Volunteers and Kentucky, the only ones to offer him. On 2nd down and 8, a little option, pitch into the boundary. And Tennessee nullifies that, snuffs it out, as Allen had nowhere to go, gained about a yard on the play.
Yeah, down the line option right there. Corner Dennis Rogan, excellent job run support. And you have to give so much credit to this Tennessee defense. I mean, they have played basically outstanding football all season.
3rd down and 8 coming up for the Wildcats, the 10th play of the drive. Little heat coming on Cobb, trying to make a play, and he's brought down just inside the 40-yard line, short of the first down by about 2 yards. He picked up 6. Bolden making the stop.
I think he's going to go for it again right here.
4th and about a long 1, maybe closer to 2 to go.
You're kind of in no man's land right here. You know, you really can't kick a field goal. There's no really reason to punt the football.
Randall Cobb, a young man that really watched a lot of tape and had to pattern his game somewhat after another left-handed quarterback in the SEC, Tim Tebow. On 4th and 2. Cobb's going to be chopped down short of the first down. Kevin McKenzie. Nevin McKenzie makes the stop for the Volunteers, and they'll take over on downs.
Well, whoever the new head coach is, he's going to have some speed on defense. I mean, this Tennessee defense, number 70 last year in the country, mark total defense. This year, number 6. A lot of improvement.
Welcome back to College Football Primetime, presented by Kay Jewelers. Tennessee leading 14-3 with 8:41 to go here in the 3rd quarter of play. And Monday night, the explosive Maurice Jones-Drew looks to get the Jags rolling against the dynamic rookie Steve Slayton out of West Virginia. And division rival the Texans. Monday Night Football on ESPN, 8:30 Eastern. Coverage begins at 7 with Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS.
Say Monday Night Football. That's spaghetti night at my house.
Joanne hooks it up for you.
Every Monday night, I sit in front of that TV and get that penny pasta delivered to me.
Meat sauce or just tomato sauce?
I usually just like the red sauce, but there'll be a little slice of something on there every once in a while.
Something special, huh? You're lucky, man. 8.5 minutes to go. The gain of 1 by Montario Hardesty. Hardesty actually started the Wyoming game. Did a nice job. They like his explosiveness and actually had a 7-yard touchdown run last week against Vanderbilt. He'll come to the sidelines as Arian Foster getting the majority of the carries right now. Lennon Creer comes into the ball game. 2nd down and 5.
Dave Clausen told us Lennon Creer probably the best upside of any of these Tennessee backs. An explosive guy.
Here's Gerald Jones out of the direct snap, Bob, and Jones gets to midfield right at the 50-yard line with under 8 minutes to go. It'll be 3rd down and about 3 or 4 to go for the Volunteers.
What's so difficult, you know, you take Jonathan Crompton, the quarterback, who's played early, then he's benched, plays in this game, then he comes out when you go to the G-gun. A guy that doesn't have much confidence, you'd like to see him have the opportunity to build on that last big throw he made. You know, so right now, just let him stay in the game and make some throws right here.
Christie back in the ballgame, takes the toss. It's one tackler, but couldn't escape the second one in. That's Peters making a nice stop. Johnny Williams was the first guy to slow him down.
Yeah, Johnny Williams and Corey Peters. But, you know, I mean, I like the fact Jonathan Crompton build on the success he had in that first series of the second half. Just got ultra conservative right here again.
Well, speaking of lineage, we talked about Fulmer for most of the night. Britton Colquitt, the punter, going back to 07. There's been a streak of 71 consecutive games where the starting punter at Tennessee was a Colquitt.
Well, he bangs it now. Averages 44 yards a punt. Missed the first 5 games he was suspended.
Randall Cobb calls for the fair catch at about the 12-yard line and fields it cleanly. That's where he'll take the snaps. Philip Fulmer's coaching journey started with a cross-country trip out west in his old Pinto.
Really?
ESPN's College Football, brought to you by the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone, and Audi, truth in engineering.
Kentucky trailing 14-3, 6:35 to go here in the third quarter of play, and the Wildcats now with a new quarterback in the ball game, Mike Hartline, who was actually the starter up until 5 games ago. Backs working out of the eye. Hartline, a 6', 204-pound sophomore. Handed off to Tony Dixon, and Dixon gets about 3 yards on first down.
A little bit surprising right here. Hartline comes in the football game. Big, tall guy, more of a thrower. You have to wonder, is Randall Cobb in the game at wide receiver? There he is.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, he's back in the game at wide receiver.
On 2nd down and 7. Joker Phillips, the offensive coordinator, looking for a spark. Might have gotten it here from Hartline. The pass complete to T.C. Drake. And that's a Kentucky first down. Remember, Kentucky has lost 23 straight games to Tennessee coming into this one.
T.C. Drake, the tight end on the crossing route. Mike Hartline, a little bit of a spark right here, huh?
Picks up 18 on that last play. Little counter. And a nice defensive play up front by number 95, Donald Langley, for the Volunteers, as he got to Tony Dixon for a loss on the play.
Yeah, a little outside move right there by Walter Fisher, who, Mark, he had a great game last week against Vanderbilt from Nashville, senior. Big play right there.
2nd down and 14. Initially didn't take the demotion too well 5 games ago when Randall Cobb became the starting quarterback. Trying to get his way back into some regular rotation here. That pass incomplete. Intended for Adams. Well, let's put a spotlight on tonight's Levi's 501 original. And 35 years as a Tennessee guy through and through. Won the national championship back in 1998. And Philip Fulmer is as indigenous to this Tennessee football program as they come. Talked about his journey starting right after his playing days when he attended a coaching clinic all the way out in California. 3rd and 14. Pass over middle complete. And Dixon fights out to the 40-yard line. Pickup of 10 on the play. And it's 4th down coming up. So Rich Brooks's offense unable to get the first.
Watch Damon Bolden right here, the nose guard. Now, this is kind of a unique little deal right here. Watch him. Watch him all the way. He's going to do a little circle. Then he's going to go in pass coverage. And ends up at about 300 pounds, not only defending, but making the tackle.
Can't remember the last time I saw a scheme like that, Bob. It's working for Tennessee's defense, though, as Jones calls for the fair catch at the 20-yard line. It'll be 1st down and 10, a 40-yard punt, nothing on the return. The defense holding tough when we come back to Knoxville.
Prentice from the 18. He's still alive. He's gone. It's a foot race down the sidelines, and lightning has stopped. Air under it to the end zone. Touchdown. Martin looking toward the corner of the end zone. It is touchdown. Cedric Wilson.
One of the indelible memories of the Philip Fulmer tenure here at Tennessee on the sidelines. At SEC championship game win against Mississippi State, and T. Martin was the one that led them to the national championship in 1998. Right now, Gerald Jones taking the direct snap under the center, out of the shotgun actually. Jones out of G-gun, as they affectionately call it. Not much G-force in that run. He picked up about 2, Bob.
Tell you one thing, G-gun for ground gun, because it's always the old-time football, just quarterback lead play. But you know, you talk about that SEC championship. We just saw Mississippi State and Tennessee on that flashback. How about that game next week with Alabama and Florida? That may be the national championship game for all intents and purposes. I mean, that will be an unbelievable game next week.
Think about how far Alabama's come from the time we saw last year in their bowl game. They were 6-6. Crompton with a nice elusive move. And here's what Fulmer had to say about that 1998 game.
That was one of those games that a lot of people will point to, much like they point to the '85 Sugar Bowl. That was a validating time for us. That put us in the SEC championship game and a chance to play for the national championship for the second time in 3 years.
First down and 10. The national championship, 2 SEC titles, and that's Greer picking up 2 on the play. Let's go back to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you. It's a Taco Bell studio update. This game over on ABC, Oklahoma State. Remember, the Sooners trying to force a 3-way tie in the Big 12 South. Zach Robinson to Dan Davis, though Oklahoma would have to settle for a field goal. It's 7-3, Sooners on top.
All right, Wendy and Bob Davey, you like that quarterback down at Baylor. They almost were the fly in the ointment today against Texas Tech.
Exactly. I mean, if Robert Griffin at a Baylor.
That play is over. Personal foul. 27 on the defense. Penalty is 15 yards from the end of the run. Automatic. First down.
That's against Ashton Cobb of Kentucky.
You go back a week ago, 2 weeks ago, actually, with this Kentucky football team, the mistakes they made against Vanderbilt, you know, with the 2 roughing the punters, the roughing the passer, 2 interceptions. I mean, this football team is limping right now down the stretch. 2-5 over their last 7 games. You know, this is a big game for them to gain some momentum heading into a bowl game.
And Bob, now Eric Berry in taking the direct from center. Little counter step move by Berry, and he finds a crease. Eric Berry on the move. Berry down to the 27-yard line. And the Vols offense igniting a little bit. He picked up 23 on the play.
Mark, this is a little counter play. You're going to see the backside guard and tackle pull, and then Eric Berry follows him up into the hole off a little counter action. Actually, it's the fullback in the guard that pull. Nice seam right there. Pretty good tackle by Trevard Lindley in the open field. This guy's tough to get down.
Yeah, Berry out of Fairburn, Georgia, was the state champ in the 200 meters as a junior.
Yeah, he played quarterback in high school.
Dad actually played at Tennessee as well. Here he is again, making Dad proud. And for more on Berry, here's Aaron.
Well, Jonesy, you know, Philip Fulmer said Eric Berry may be one of the best defenders in the country in college football. Of course, Eric Berry, there were questions about whether he would transfer after the news that Coach Fulmer stepped down. He said it's been tough on him. The main reason why he came to play for Tennessee was from Coach Fulmer. He said this week he's not going anywhere. He's a loyal guy. He's loyal to his teammates. He's going to stay put. But, guys, that was before the news or all the speculation that Lane Kiffin would be announced or introduced as the new head coach.
Yeah, Aaron, you know, so many times with young players, Bob, the emotion fluctuate from one moment to the next. And this is Lane Creer with a nice run. Eric Berry, though, with a couple of big plays throughout the course of the season.
The thing he does, he tackles you. Not only a guy that's an interceptor, an athlete, but, I mean, look at the run support right here.
There's the run just a few moments ago. You know, last week against Vanderbilt in that win, he had a 45-yard interception return for a touchdown. His yardage on interception returns is amongst the highest in SEC history.
You know, it's kind of neat. After the game, Philip Fulmer gave him the game ball after the Vanderbilt game. He gave it back to Philip Fulmer.
Great show of love right there. On first down and 10. Ooh. Big hit on Lennon Creer by number 10, Matt Lentz. He brought the hammer that time, but Creer with a nice gain.
You can see why Dave Clausen told us this guy has an NFL future. That was a lick right there, though, by Matt Lentz, who actually was a quarterback as a freshman. So Lance made that move over, got himself some shoulder pads, delivered a lick, got a new haircut, got the mohawk to go with safety deal too.
Kids are rocking a lot of mohawks these days. 2nd down and 1.
Tennessee starting to wear Kentucky down on this drive.
And off again, they're going to run it. Creer with nowhere to go got back to the line of scrimmage. Lennon Creer, the most elusive of the 3 tailbacks between him and Foster and Montario Hardesty.
And Tennessee taking this 14-3 lead, Mark, into the 4th quarter. See if they can run the ball and keep it away and get that old offensive line coach a win in his last game.
Rich Brooks, meanwhile, fire his crew up. Welcome back, and let's take a look at tonight's sharp Aquos HD image of the game. And Phil Fulmer and his wife Vicky sharing a nice moment right there. It is a very poignant night for both of them, for the entire family, for the entire Tennessee football family. And it's been a week where Coach Fulmer has received hundreds and hundreds of emails and letters from well-wishers, and it would only be appropriate for them if they could finish it off with a victory tonight in his final time on the sidelines. This is Hardesty stopped up, and he got burst down at about the 5-yard line. You know, Bob, what some people tend to forget in the 30-odd years that he's spent here at Tennessee is that I referred to that long trip out west when he was a youngster. Going on a coaching clinic out in California. On the way back, he ended up taking a job at Wichita State and stayed there for a few years before finally returning to Tennessee to become an assistant coach.
Yeah, I love Steve Spurrier's line.
10th play of the draw. And on the toss, touchdown, Creer. Lennon Creer with his 4th rushing touchdown of the season.
Well, he's going to get an excellent block by number 78 right there, the offensive tackle Ramon Foster. And going to be tough, obviously, for Kentucky to climb back in this football game. But again, to Steve Spurrier's comment about Philip Fulmer, when Steve saw that he had that $6 million buyout after he was fired, he said, congratulations to Phil on hitting the lottery. So he's come a long way since Wichita State, and that Pinto you told me.
No doubt.
He took to Wichita State.
And the Pinto actually made the trip. Lennon Creer with the score, and Tennessee trying to make it 24 straight wins against Kentucky. Coach loves it. 21-3 and a 21-0 run for the Tennessee Volunteers just underway here in the 4th quarter. Hey, get your weekly dose of NFL news and analysis on ESPN Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Chris Berman and the crew with Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM. The best pass rushers and ones share the secrets of the sack. Those and other great things included on this week's upcoming show. Here's a look at Lennon Creer, who scored his 4th touchdown of the season a few moments ago before we went to break. The question begs, Bob, what has been to this Kentucky offense? Having a tough time of it tonight against albeit one of the top defenses in the country from Tennessee.
Mark, you have to wonder not only this Kentucky offense, but this Kentucky football team. They're a 6-5 team. I mean, they're bowl eligible for the 3rd straight year. But, you know, they really haven't beaten a quality opponent. I mean, their wins have come over Louisville, Norfolk State, Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. Bowl eligible, but you hate to go into that bowl game on such a negative end to your season. I mean, it's almost like a penalty at times.
Now, Joker Phillips, the team's offensive coordinator and head coach designate, using Cobb as a wide receiver. Hartline completes the pass to Smith. He complete one deep to Wendy.
Mark, thank you very much. Over on ESPN, USC hosting Notre Dame. The Trojans could probably use some style points in this one. Joe McKnight, 55 yards, puts the Trojans up 14-0.
USC has 4 running backs in its backfield that can hurt you. Joe McKnight has the quicks, and he shows you here.
5.5 to go in the second quarter.
All right, Wendy, this is Dixon on the run. Check that. That's Smith. Did anybody touch Joe McKnight? Was anyone in the 213 area code that time to even get close?
You're Don't pile on the Irish now.
I just thought that he went.
A lot of Charlie Weiss. There's been a bunch of piling on this week. I never thought I'd see you.
With the buyout? The reported insurmountable buyout? Yeah. A lot of talk around that area. This is the time of year when the coaching carousel starts to spin a little bit. 3rd down and 1, and that's Alfonso Smith getting the first down for Kentucky.
You know, life for Randall Cobb. Not only the starting quarterback, also as a receiver. Watch him right here as this play keeps going. Won't. Eric Berry again. Eric Berry is a physical guy. I mean, for a freshman, this has been a remarkable season for Randall Cobb.
And the Cobb in motion. Hartline completes it out of the backfield to a fullback, Grinner.
You know, Mark,
Grinner goes down 5.
Excuse me. So much speculation about Lane Kiffin becoming the head coach at Tennessee, maybe announcing it Monday. You know, a lot of concern around here, just on his age, you know, on his experience. You know, I think he's in a different category, though. You know, he's a young guy. Growing up, when you're Monty Kiffin's son, you've lived a life since you were 2 years old.
Right. Hartline incomplete once again to Grinner. Yeah, there wasn't the euphoric reaction that you might expect, although it's still not written in stone that we know of.
Exactly. And I mean, that's, you know, you can understand it. I mean, he's 33 years old. He's been a head coach only in the NFL at the Raiders. But I go back to the point, his 33 years of living with Monty Kiffin, living football his entire life, and being the head coach, even though it was a dysfunctional situation at Oakland, this guy is way mature beyond his years. Plus, he spent that time with Pete Carroll at USC.
3rd down and 6 for the Wildcats. Little heat come by the Volunteers defensively. They tossed him. Nowhere to go that time for Smith. And he's brought down by Rico McCoy. Let's take a look at tonight's AutoZone playbook. Both touchdowns in the second half. This was a great way to start this 3rd quarter for Tennessee. The touchdown pass unencumbered to Moore. And then a few moments ago, that was Lennon Creer for the score.
And I think this Kentucky defense, you know, they're coming off an open date, but they're without 2 starting defensive linemen. Really, one's a backup, but they're worn down right now. I mean, this Tennessee team has worn Kentucky down.
This is Ryan Tudlachka with the punt. Fielded by Jones at the 17-yard line with 11:35 to go in the 4th quarter. Philip Fulmer counting the minutes on a 17-year head coaching career.
ESPN's College Football is presented by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And in part by Samsung Mobile, proud sponsor of ESPN Rivalry Week.
That's Smokey right there.
Smokey got a little hangdog in it tonight.
Well, that's smart. It's the breed. That's how they look. Look at that. Is that a great face or what?
Raising up a little bit. The crew's leading 21-3.
Yeah. Been a hard
put a little
season,
bark in there. He looks
Smokey,
a little beat down, doesn't he?
Down a little bit. It finally got to him.
This year has been like 7 human years or dog years. Arian Foster with a nice run between the tackles. Got about 8 on the play. 2nd down and 2 for the Volunteers with 11:20 to go here in the 4th quarter. Tennessee looking to improve to 5-7 on the season.
You know, Mark,
3-5 in conference play.
You know, in the big picture of Tennessee football, whether they're 5-7 or 4-8 is probably insignificant. You know, they're going to look back on that and say that wasn't that big a deal. But to Philip Fulmer, it's a big deal to win your last game.
There's Foster again.
Stopped a couple of times and got up to the 28-yard line. Getting the first down, picked up 3. Well, Monday night, the explosive Maurice Jones-Drew looks to get the Jags rolling against dynamic rookie Steve Slayton out of West Virginia and the division rival Texans. Monday Night Football on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern Time. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS. Now, Spaghetti Night, Joanne hooks up the pasta, a little meat sauce, tomato sauce.
Maiden name was Fratangelo. That's right in her power alley right there.
It's specialty.
Pasta, yeah.
Can you fax the recipe for me? Hook that up a little bit. Here's Foster. A couple of nice moves by Arian Foster. Ended up picking about 3 on the play.
You know, Mark, I'm talking about your last football game. You know, I coached in a similar situation. We played down at Purdue, my last game in 2001. Kyle Orton was the quarterback. We had 161 total yards offense in the game. But we beat them on a 96-yard kickoff return by Vontez Duff.
Wow.
And a 30-yard interception by Jason Beckstrom. And we beat Purdue down in West Lafayette.
So was that important to get that last one?
It was big because it shows your football team keeps playing. You know, they didn't cave in on you.
And that run about 2 yards by Foster, and especially after the Wyoming loss, there were some whispers as to whether this team actually let go of the rope for the rest of the season, but not the case as shown here tonight.
Mark, that is a great point. And you know, the Wyoming game, this football team was in shock when they played Wyoming, because there they are, they leave South Carolina, they find out the next day with what, 4 games left, that Philip Fulmer's gone. So they were in shock against Wyoming. But you bring up a good point. They have responded and they have fought back, because nothing's easy, particularly for this offense. They got to fight for everything they get.
They're looking at 3rd down and long, 8 to go. Crompton's going to run it himself and get the first down, and then a little bit more. Fulmer had this to say about some of the indelible memories on the sidelines.
You think about all the great games and the great players and the great moments that we've had over our time here. It's just hard to say there's one that's the best. I mean, everybody would point right to the national championship game itself, or even that season. But you know, as a coach, sometimes your best jobs are done those years that you won 8.
Yeah, that's a good point. 1st down and 10. Hand off again to Foster. Got about a yard on the play. I asked him about his favorite memory against Kentucky, and he said it goes back to being a player, an offensive lineman here at Tennessee, a game at Kentucky when a teammate of his, Carl Johnson, intercepted a pitch, and as Johnson was running down the field for the score, they were kidding Johnson that some of his teammates actually ended up blocking the same guy 2 or 3 times on the way down. That's how slow Johnson was to get to the end zone.
Well, he's been around a lot of teammates and a lot of players. You think of all the people he's gotten to know in his, what, 34 or 35 years here at Tennessee.
Started off as an assistant, then an assistant coach, head coach. After being a player, that's Hardesty with a couple of yards. And it was nice to see the tribute they put up on the video boards throughout the night here.
It's back when we used to wear those bangs like that. Yeah. I had that similar cut.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Bill Fulmer.
Philip right here. Bill Battle, the head coach. This is a great night, you know, to be up 21-3 right here. Do it the way you want to do it, by pounding the football and running it.
You can only imagine the emotions inside of his head right now as Gerald Jones comes in to run the G-gun formation.
Are they going to let him throw the football here? Probably not.
Looked like they had a little malfunction at the junction.
We've seen a lot of that this season on offense. And, you know, Dave Clausen, we have to mention the offensive coordinator. Well-respected coach. Came over from Richmond, where he was the head coach. It's been a miserable year for him. I mean, bottom line. I mean, he just moved into his new house 5 months ago. Dave right here on the left. They've never gained confidence in his offense. You know, the scheme, they say, is a little more cerebral, a little harder to learn than David Cutcliffe's, and they just never got any confidence.
Well, Fulmer will tell anyone that will listen that they could turn it around next year, but that opportunity will not evolve.
Rain starting up once again here in Knoxville on the banks of the Tennessee River at Neyland Stadium. Volunteers leading 21-3, and somewhat appropriate, Bob, that the night would come to a conclusion in the rainfall. Tennessee with the lead, and this Phil Fulmer's last game on the sidelines as the head coach for the Volunteers. 3rd down and 8. This is Gerald Jones going to run it. Jones looking to get to the edge, got to the edge, and then some. Jones is stepping hard. Touchdown. 56 yards.
It can't be that easy, can it? He's saying, why wasn't it that easy earlier in the year? Watch the blocks he gets. First from Arian Foster. Right there. Mark, everyone in the stadium knew Gerald Jones was going to carry that foot. Did he step out of bounds is the question.
They're going to say that he did actually step out of bounds.
First down.
I mean, though, that's like in the backyard. Watch right here. Yeah, he stepped out. Look at that. That's great job right there. The focus of that official right there. Watch the focus. Get the official right there, Mark, the field judge. That's great concentration.
And, you know, Jones really didn't need to step out of bounds. He just kind of lost his place.
Well, that's good news for Arian Foster, though.
Get another touchdown here. Not saying that stats are important, but looks kind of nice on the resume. Foster, and he's brought down for a loss of about 3 on the play. Nice surge led by Micah Johnson, the middle linebacker for Kentucky.
Really a nice play by Micah Johnson. 6'2", 250-pound linebacker.
And when healthy, he's been outstanding. But he's fought a high ankle sprain for a good part of the last half of the season. 2nd and goal coming up for Tennessee.
Where's the G-gun?
I'd like to see it again.
Yeah.
They got to load up Gerald Jones one more time. Get him a little breather on the sidelines first.
One thing they're doing is eating that clock there. They're taking that 40-second clock right down.
Foster again with nowhere to go. But this is strikingly similar to the drive or the attempts they had running the ball at the end of the first half. When they failed to score on 3 attempts.
This is strikingly similar to when he was an offensive lineman for Bill Battle. High backs and just run right at him now.
We'll be back right after this. 3rd and goal coming up. Welcome back to ESPN's College Football Primetime, presented by Kay Jewelers here at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie and Aaron Andrews down on the sidelines. Tennessee leading Kentucky 21-3, and a win tonight would be 24 straight for the Volunteers over the Wildcats.
G-gun, Mark.
Gerald Jones.
He's going to carry it. There has to be one pass out of this formation now.
Just for the heck of it, huh? Jones with the snap.
Nope.
Going to keep it himself. Jones scores.
It can't be that easy. It cannot be that easy.
He finishes off, Bob, what he started on that long 56-yard run where he stepped out of bounds at the 1-yard line.
That should speed will do, doesn't it? I mean, just a direct snap and just outruns everybody. Ashton Cobb.
Coach Philip Fulmer loved it, as did his wife, Vicky.
G-gun. That's all she knows right now.
Yeah.
Phil, why didn't we use that G-gun earlier in the season?
5:44 to go, and Tennessee up 28-3 for Jones. That was his first rushing touchdown of the season, the 3rd of his career. And for more, let's go downstairs to Aaron Andrews.
Jonesy, thanks so much. I was just talking to Vicky Fulmer here just about how people forget this is hard for the families too, and there's a lot of families going through things right now. Coach has just been all business today, wanting to stick with the routine, but behind the scenes, how has he been today?
Well, I saw him, very early this morning, but he left early to be with his team. And, of course, his focus today is on beating Kentucky. And, he wanted to put all the doom and gloom behind him and just get his players ready to play. The Vol walk was surreal. I mean, we had no idea that many people would come out to honor him and the team in the rain, Thanksgiving weekend. So I'm I'm sure he's gone through many emotions today.
What did he mention, just seeing everybody? We saw the emotion on your face. What did he mention that meant to him?
Yeah, it was really tough for all of us. I kind of went over to him and I said, so nobody was going to show up today, huh? And he just teared up, and he's just, I can feel his heart just touched. And he's just feeling so many emotions right now. And, you know, we just so appreciate everybody that's reached out to us this season particularly, and all the love and the emails and the letters and the phone calls and the hugs have meant so much to all of us. But, you know, reach out to our staff too, because they too have lost their jobs and they have families just like we do, and they're hurting just as deeply as we are, and just out to them.
You know him better than anyone. What will it mean tonight for him to walk out with his team winning this game?
Oh, I think he'll just be so honored that they did win tonight for themselves. He wanted them to start this, you know, finish this chapter on a good note and start their new chapter on a good note, and I think they've done that tonight. So he will celebrate them tonight.
Thank you to you and your family for being so gracious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jonesy.
All right, Aaron. It has been an emotional, tumultuous time for Philip Fulmer and his family since November the 3rd, when it was announced and decided that he wouldn't be back for an 18th year as Tennessee's head coach. Tony Dixon running in between the tackles. And some images emblazoned across landscape here in Knoxville on the final night with Fulmer on the sidelines. Started off kind of rough. They fell behind 3-0, but since that time have stormed back with 28 consecutive points. And Bob, how quickly things can change in college football. Just a year ago, this Tennessee program, led by Philip Fulmer, was in the SEC championship game. Here we are some 12 months later, and he's not coming back.
What got him, you know, he's 15-16 in the last 31 Southeastern Conference games. And don't think that Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, two guys that are new in their careers making such impacts have been a factor as well.
Let's go back to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, it's a Dr. Pepper Big 12 studio update. This game over on ABC. Oklahoma State. Can't say it enough. Oklahoma trying to force a three-way tie in the Big 12 South. Zach Robinson, Kendall Walker. It was 7-3. It's going to make it 10-7 Cowboys, but Oklahoma with the answer. Chris Brown punches it in. 14-10. Oklahoma back on top.
A lot of football to go there. That's an interesting game.
How about Mac Brown and the whole state of Texas sitting there? Texas Longhorn fans. They want Oklahoma to win, but not by too much. Because if Oklahoma State wins, Texas Tech goes, because Texas Tech beat Texas.
Right.
So you talk about some emotions now, sitting there watching all that. Boy's wide open.
They turned him loose. And out of bounds is Adams, who stepped out after making the reception. But a big play down to the 12-yard line of Tennessee.
Yeah, E.J. Adams was a corner last year. Obviously, the safety fell down, Eric Berry right there. Dennis Rogan expected help. We saw Eric Berry slip.
35-yard pickup by Adams on the play.
Yeah, Adams has kind of become the go-to receiver. You know, 4 for 61 against Vander.
Moved over last year from his quarterback position. This is Smith. Actually, Dixon
carries
takes it down close to the 5-yard line. He stopped up just outside the 5. 4 minutes and 10 seconds to go, and that ignominious streak, if you're looking at from it Kentucky's perspective, continues. If they lose tonight, they'll have lost 24 straight to Tennessee. And a first down run by Dixon.
It'd be interesting to see, Mark, just all the bowl preparation coming up. I think that's going to be a first down right there for Kentucky. I mean, going into that bowl game 6-6. Wow. I mean, that's going to take a great motivation job by Rich Brooks. And that's going to be it's going to be like a spring practice. I mean, it's not going to be a feel-good kind of bowl preparation. I mean, this is about getting better.
It's been 3 weeks of dark clouds now over Kentucky after losing 2 weeks ago at home against Vanderbilt in a game we did, Bob, in Lexington, and then they had the bye week, and now this. They got to stew on this for a while. The run and touchdown, Smith. So Smith makes it 28-9 now. Tennessee still with the lead.
Rich Brooks thinking about onside kick right here, which you have to do But, you know, he's done a great job. I mean, you go back several years ago, everybody wanted to see Brooks fired. You have to give the president and the AD, Mitch Barnhart at Kentucky, a lot of credit for hanging in there. It wasn't a popular decision, but they didn't cave in. And they have improved, and they are a solid football program right now.
You look to the turnaround of this Kentucky program. They beat Georgia 2 seasons ago and then defeated Clemson in the Music City Bowl. That really started the resurrection. Meanwhile, 1998 will always be the one big year for Phil Fulmer.
Martin passes away, passes forward, touchdown, Sean Bryson, the fullback. Outson puts it over there, and that's picked up, and that's going to be 6. It's Wayne Goodrich, touchdown. That ball going down the sidelines is Peerless Price. It's touchdown.
One national title, a couple of SEC titles. Philip Fulmer will close out his coaching career in just a few minutes here in Knoxville with 3:44 to go.
Just thinking about onside kick hands team right now.
You know, Bob, we run into a lot of different coaches through our travels in college football covering these really compelling football games, and I can say personally that Philip Fulmer has always been extremely gracious and compassionate and showed a lot of humanity in his dealings with us in the media.
It was interesting because Kentucky in that last drive, they were just trying to run the clock down before that one deep throw that Eric Berry fell down on. Good kid.
At the nice high bounce, but it's fielded cleanly by the Volunteers. And a nice catch by Luke Stalker, the starting tight end. He had thoughts of going the other way for 6. And with 3:41 to go, it's going to be Tennessee football with good field position.
This was an excellent kick right here. Watch the hop and some hops by Luke Stalker right there, who they say has really a bright future here as a tight end.
Montario Hardesty in a tailback. Jones in motion. Hardesty with a nice move to get to the edge. Close to first down. Got about 9 on the play. Get your weekly dose of NFL news and analysis on ESPN Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Chris Berman and the gang on Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM. And what could the New England Patriots have in common with the Prince of Darkness? One of the things they'll talk about. Then at 7, Chris Berman and John Saunders deliver the day's highlights and scores during SportsCenter. 2nd down and 1 coming up.
Talk about Peyton Manning. How about Eli Manning and the improvement he has shown with the New York Giants?
Man.
I mean, he has been outstanding. And Ole Miss putting it on Mississippi State.
Houston Nutt doing a fantastic job this year taking over. On 2nd down and 1, nowhere to go. Hardesty stopped up. SEC arguably the deepest conference in the country, and they have 8 bowl-eligible teams to speak for it so far.
Well, and the SEC actually is going to be 1 short because they have 9 bowl commitments and really 10 if Alabama or Florida go to the championship game. Auburn at 5 and 6 lost to Alabama today. You know, last year they had 10 bowl eligible teams. South Carolina didn't even go to a bowl game at 6 and 6.
3rd down and 2 coming up. And that's Hardesty again, sneaking under the pile of would-be tacklers, and it looks like he got the first down. Bob, I'm going to ask you, who do you like in that SEC championship game coming up between Alabama and Florida?
I like Florida. I just think Florida is so dynamic in the way they can score points in different ways. You know, offensively, they come at you. Now, I saw Percy Harvin today, I believe, went down with a sprained ankle. But to do what they did in that quagmire down in Tallahassee.
The rain really slowed them down, didn't it?
Yeah, if you're Florida State, I mean, you better be glad it did slow them down a little bit. But that's going to be a great game. I mean, you're talking about that Florida offense against Alabama and Nick Saban's defense. Big time game.
Big improvement this year by the Crimson Tide. We saw Alabama last year in one of our bowl games. They finished up at about 6-6.
Yeah.
And
Coach
to
of
be
the
where
year.
they are now. Yep.
No question, Nick Saban, Coach of the Year in college football. Just unbelievable. Sitting there at 12-0.
Yeah. 1:47 to go here. And Tennessee is going to close this season out at 5-7, thus avoiding becoming the first Tennessee team to lose 8 games in a season. Hardesty got about 2 on the play.
And, you know, I guess a valid argument is, should 6-6 teams go to bowl games? You know, should
yes.
they go to bowl games? And
I would say yes. And now a moment of finality for Phil Fulmer. Reaching to his players as players embracing him on the sidelines. There have been a bunch of fans that have stuck around for the final moments here. Phil Fulmer has always maintained through the last 3 weeks.
And you know, the next
it's been about
coach,
the players, not him.
That's right. And the next coach, it's a challenge because not so much the W's and L's and the X and O's, but just the relationship Philip Fulmer has with these players and the way he's conducted himself. He's set a high standard for the next coach. And that's Philip Fulmer Boulevard right outside the stadium. That's not coming down.
Some signs, they don't change. Some pictures, they don't remove. You can take away some of the ornaments, but you can't take away the memories for Phil Fulmer. Tennessee wins it 28-10. And the game ball firmly clutched into the arm of Phil Fulmer. It was given to him by his quarterback, Compton. Let's go downstairs to Aaron Andrews. Aaron?
Can I grab you real quick? Coach, you were all business today. You said you just wanted to worry about the game. First of all, what does it mean that your quarterback handed you the game ball?
I don't know if I can, right now, you know, it's really special. We're going to say our prayer here. I'll be with you in a minute, but
well, the adage says that the true measure.
Pray God for safe travel. Thanks so much, our Father, for what this storm means to us. I pray God continue to keep us safe. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen, bro. You're the man, Fulmer. You're the man.
True measure of a man is how he carries himself in times of controversy and conflict. And Phil Fulmer has always been very regal in his presence. Let's go back to Aaron.
Well, Coach is having a nice moment with his family right now and some of his players. Coach, can you just tell us, what are your emotions right now?
Well, I mean, obviously it's an emotional time. We've been a lot of years on this field and had a lot of fun in it, you know. And, we may coach again, but I don't know if you'll ever have the specialness that we've had here at UT.
You told us that you hoped you could enjoy some of the game. What were you thinking about as the minutes were winding down?
Well, just soaking in some of this special, you know, about these people, the fans, and these kids who've fought their ears off. It's been a heck of a tough year in a lot of ways, but these last 2 ball games shows the true character of these young men.
You said it's been a very tough week for you and your family. What will your final memory be as you walk out of Neyland Stadium?
It's all good. I'm not gonna go down the bad road. It's all good, and we're very blessed to have that. To have the opportunity to be here and for that long, and it was a great run, and I'm proud of our football team and our program, and you know, I'll always be involved.
Thank you for your time.
Hey, can we back it up a little bit? Let them wave everybody on. Oh, we go.
Bob, they say that coaching goes beyond, and you can certainly attest to this, Bob, that coaching goes beyond the wins and the championship titles. It's about the friendships that are bonded, the memories that you take from the football field. Your thoughts on the final closing chapter of Philip Fulmer?
You know, one of the good guys in this profession, and that's the bottom line. I mean, he's a good guy that I think everyone that's been around him would say the same thing, and that's the bottom line. You're going to win some and you're going to lose some, but he's done it with class.
He'll lead the field on the shoulders of his players. Players that on this cold night in Knoxville, Tennessee, played hard one final time for the coach. The Volunteers win it 28-10. And somewhat appropriate and fitting that this final game would be punctuated with a victory. One of the winningest coaches in Tennessee history, Philip Fulmer, will close the book on this final chapter here. Former player, former grad assistant, former assist coach, and now a former head coach. 28-10, the final score. For Bob Davey and Aaron Andrews, I'm Mark Jones, saying so long from Knoxville. Right now, let's join Wendy Nix in our studio.